Da 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 da. What's my good chair? Welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes. Get those notifications out. Let people know I've gone live. In the meantime, if you've never met me before, I am Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. And it has been a day for the inside, but I think a very productive day. I think a day that might bring some ease, if not to problems that kind of roll in my life, maybe problems that roll in life, but we just don't acknowledge them, right? Because we worry about what people will say, that we're off the board, a little bit wacky. I'm online all the time, and people have so many special recipes, hacks and tricks for ailments, for winning the lottery, for your own emotional well-being, physical well-being, mental well-being, right? And it's all marketed out there. But when you look at it and you take a moment to seriously, right? Is this person just trying to make a sale? Or do they really believe in what they're trying to sell? That they know that there is value in what they're trying to sell. Hello, Eugene. I'm doing very good tonight. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the thumbs up. I always appreciate it. I know sometimes my channel needs it, but you know what? It does. It does need it. It's just not recognized in the moment. And who's to say, maybe I'm an early bird. Maybe I'm a scraggler at the end of the line. Doesn't really matter in the end because I'm still making that little bit of movement. And I always believe because, it's how we feel about the things that come across our paths, right? You can't always go in and just trust that everything is going to work out okay. I've relied on that a lot in my life to get me through hard times, right? Even to these days, and I say everything's going to be okay. When I start getting a little bit frantic or a little bit worried about things, everything will be okay. Everything will be okay. And I'm really lucky because I have paid attention. I have taken in lessons. I've experimented, not just taken it in as outright truth that this is the way it is. Somebody's selling me something and I'm getting sucked into that, right? Because they're really good with the schmoo. But do they really believe in the product that they're selling? And that's what we have to be careful of because that could make us discouraged in our lives, discouraged in mankind because we got duped again, right? We could also become, heavy and sad because we can see that, the almighty dollar is king. And when you really want to make some movement, and it's just not a matter of putting a roof over your head, but actually make some movement so at the very least we don't become extinct. This is how I think, right? Because, I'm not trying to sell anybody on it, but in showing up here every day and this being my platform, my beliefs and my genuineness and what I believe It has to be able to surface, right? So if I don't get a gazillion watchers on my lives, that's okay, right? If it gets to one person, that's everything, right? So, if you show up, I'm going to show up too. And even if you don't show up, I'm still going to show up. Oh, Kathy's here. Oh, thank you, Kathy. I enjoy having the company. It keeps me grounded because again, when you're so much in the lessons, it's so easy when I come into my lives and I haven't spoken I haven't spoken to anybody all day, right? Not even to myself today. I've just been quiet and just in different topics, interesting topics too, and resolving things that I've been kind of putting off in my human life. Like getting the air conditioner out of the window, cleaned, put away, and then spend an hour scraping packing tape off the glass on the windows. But it's all nice and clean, organized. And I think this year I timed it perfectly. Last year I put the air conditioner away way too soon, and we had a little heat wave, and I was kind of miserable because I put the air conditioner away. Yeah, and especially when I was coming home from my September trip, and I put it away before I even went on the trip. So when I came home from my trip and it was all like heat wave, right? I was disappointed, right? Because I do love a cool temperature. I'm happy to have an extra open window by my bed that some nice cool fresh air is gonna, right, come across my face and help me to have good sleepies. I'm grateful for the good sleepies, but it's because of things like that I do, right? It's in that experimenting and it's trying new things out and figuring out what works for you. I love the motor sounds, right? The fan motors. I've got an extra fan sitting here, so even though the air conditioner is away, I've got an extra fan here. So I've got two motors going on, and that is to help me to sleep. Specifically, it's to help me to sleep. There's that fresh air being blown into my face by the fans, but at the same time, in listening to the motors, right? It's drowning out the murderers and rapers because, being hyper vigilant, you're always, right? A drop, the cat's chewing on her cat food, playing in the cat box, right? You know, knocking something over, and that can give you a fright. And it's not that I'm not frightless, right? Is that a word? Frightless? It's not that, because my husband used to be able to get me all the time with the freaking me out when I'm in the shower and jumping out at me and stuff. And it wasn't something it wasn't something that I appreciated because it showed that I didn't have control in a moment when I was 100% relaxed and feeling safe. So I don't like to be jumped at and I don't like to be taken by surprise. And I've been known to slug if somebody is in arm reach because that's our hypervigilance. That's taking care of ourselves, right? And and you can imagine if I didn't have these fans, if I didn't have these motors going on and that breeze that I love so much, keeping me right, relaxed and comfy and cozy, that I would be laying there at night, probably with what do you call it? when you can't sleep at night on insomnia, right? My sister, Tracy, she suffers insomnia terribly, and she was um, an executive sales, and she was so stressed in her job that she would go home, go to bed really early, be up after an hour or two, and then stay up all night because she couldn't sleep, she couldn't relax, she couldn't unwind, right? Her brain was going 100 miles an hour, and she loved that dead. That's one thing, right? We love that dead time, right? Because we don't normally have that in our life. We're like busy, 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 doing stuff, and so we make up for it by having our alone time, our own time. And most part of the world is sleeping at 4 o'clock in the morning, and so if you get up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, right, that's your time. And sometimes people think that's a fair trade, right? For what they get out of not sleeping well, but you pay for it, right? I bet you my sister's was in like top top sales, like not just in office furniture, which was what she sold, was office furniture, but she was best salesman. She'd get all these awards and stuff, and people would ask her to come out and present and stuff like this. Like, she was really really good at what she did. But can you imagine if she was a good sleeper, right? How she would have rocked her industry, right? Unfortunately, her business went under when she had to take some time off. It wasn't her business, but you might as well have thought it was her business, because she was holding that business up in these skills that she had, right? And then things kind of fell apart when my sister's life kind of, right? And but we all have those moments, right, where it just seems that we're down and we're just getting kicked again, and we're down and we're getting kicked again, and we got no choice but just to get up and just keep going, right? And my sister is one of those people. She'll never give up, never give up. Our family was brought up that way: adapt, conquer, ride the waves, right? Find another way. Right? And but then again, they're these are qualities that are just handed down one generation to the next, and these are important qualities, right, for the environment that we live in, or we lived in, or grew up in at the time. But it may or may not be the same now. So the things that people who have have these traumatic experiences or live in these dynamic families, they are more prevalent. Number one, because right now it's even more acceptable. When I was growing up, I didn't even know anybody who was divorced. And now these children are growing up with one parent, and most of the time they don't even have that one parent, because that one parent is trying to have a life, and they're trying to put a roof over their families' heads, because they're trying to do it all and be it all. And in the end, the kids are suffering that way. But it's better that kids suffer that way than to suffer in a relationship that is volatile and doesn't work out and is causing problems, right? And when we don't choose well, right, when we don't choose well, then that's what happens. When I grew up in the 60s and 70s, you kind of resigned yourself, right? This is it. So you make the very best of it as you can. and eventually even my father, like, he was on rebound when he married my mother, and he didn't even have an emotion for her, for a very, very long time. But slowly over the years, he built a respect for her, and he grew to have an attachment. I don't know what I can say that attachment was, because I'm coming out of lessons in limerence and love, right? And it's so easy to look at the aspect of limerence and think that it's love, but it's just a matter of, somebody feeling a need for you, or were afraid to be alone, or right, we don't drive and we need somebody to drive us to the grocery store. So many things, and to each one of us, it's going to be different what we need, right? You know, for me, obviously, I would have to have somebody who would think in lines to what I do, and not think the way I do, because I'm a unique that way, but like to play in the ideas and listen in to conversation and feel them out for the truth for ourselves, and not take it at face value, right? And uh and we do too much of that, and then what happens is we end up divorced and the kids have problems. Right. I really worry about for these generations going on right now, especially when, you know, that there are some countries right now struggling even to keep the population going. Right. And these are just in the small countries. And actually, China, I think, is one of the big countries that's having that problem right now, too. Right. But I think a lot of it stems from that one child kind of system that they had going on for a very long time, and that's going to take a long time to recover from, if that at all possible. Canada had a good one in the 1800s. If you had 10 children, right? So you immigrated here from the old country, whatever that old country was. It was a big rush of settlement here in Canada in the late 1800s, and the government actually offered $1,000, right, on your 10th child, because they wanted you to have babies. They wanted to populate the country, right? Just to make sure that the Americans didn't come in and decide that they were going to take it. It's not like they didn't try, right? But you know, it's interesting when you look at history, and you look at the ways that they thought, and the way they acted in order to achieve the things that they wanted to do, and they achieved some great things. But and the way they thought and the way that they acted, they did some really crappy things too, right? And that's the truth, but that's just from one generation to the next. And so, as much as I can say that the kids in this generation are going to have a lot of struggles, because, right, like I said, that it's the norm now, and the kids are don't have, especially the boys, they don't have those male figures, because the women are usually the ones who get the kids, right? And um and uh but I have to think too, if you go back in history, that children were just extra hands on the farm, right? Extra mouths to feed. We're expected to take care of the parents when the parents were retired. And they're having a real hard time with that, because in some of the Asian countries, right, the children are falling back from the tradition of taking care of their parents, and it's causing lots of problems. We're in a world of transitions going on right now, and it's a matter of just, you can't pay attention to absolutely everything, right? Like I said, I know enough to get into a conversation, but but if you really did pay attention, we could see how we act and how we don't stabilize and how we don't even ground in our own relationships, right? I'm not going to say traditions because traditions should change, right? I'm a big fan of saying, okay, no more mashed carrots and turnips with turkey dinner, right? Family tradition. I just really do not like mashed carrots and turnips sitting on my plate. It's colorful, but that's about it. That's a tradition I can see go. And I have every right, you know, to create and celebrate my own traditions or not, right? But lots of times, as part of a group, and when you're part of a country, right? We are solidified in a lot of ideas, right? And not all of those ideas are great. I would love to see mindset in the school systems. I would love to see the kids, all the kids, have an opportunity because in free choice, those kids at a young age, if they knew the possibilities. If some of these topics came across the path, that maybe they might munch on them, right? Find them interesting. And then, some amazing leaders out there would be realized because they realized, right? I didn't have that opportunity. All these topics that I'm stumbling on to now, had no clue. Had no clue. Right? It is interesting, but it gains sometimes I wonder, like, how do I package it so it can be properly discussed and accepted as just regular conversation, right? I think we just need to get to that stage where being woke is cool. Maybe that's how it'll be digested. I have no idea. Okay, you guys, let's just pick a card for tonight. I'm just going to go into it for a couple of minutes. It's my first perspective, first thing that comes to my mind. And then I was just thinking what I was going to do after my live show. I'm editing a video. I have one more video from my trip in September. It was a trail that I walked, but if I had added it into the video, it would have made the video really long and probably very boring for a lot of people, right? But there are people out there who do love trail walks, and it was a beautiful little trail walk, and it was fall. So I'll be posting that on Wednesday. So if you pop in Wednesday, I'll have one more video, and then that'll be it until my next adventure, right? And there'll be adventures before September, but I'm looking forward to planning my adventure for next year for September. I have one park in mind that I am really anxious to visit. So, what I'm going to do, and I think it's just one day past what I did. So, I'm going to need my whole 2 weeks in order to do 2 days in each park. But I'm going to look at all the parks that are around the Killarney parks. I want to see this provincial park. I hear a lot about it, and I've seen a video of some of the campgrounds or the campsites in this provincial park. So I'm going to find out where it is. I kind of have an idea. It's on Lake Superior area, right? So I'm going to take a look at it, and then I'm just going to see a few more parks in that area that I've never visited before. Um, I'm probably going to do two parks in that area, another park in northern Ontario, and then two in the central. So that would make the whole 2 weeks, right, for my trip. But I haven't even gotten that far yet. I just caught up on the house bill. I just caught up on the house bills. And I just got my winter and summer closet switched over. So yeah, I'm enjoying fall my little fall projects. I'm sure everybody's got little fall. Must be beautiful where Kathy is right now. Oh my goodness. I'm thinking of that image of that picture that she you showed me, Kathy, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, it just must be absolutely gorgeous looking out your kitchen window. Okay, here's the card we got today. Wonder. Oh, isn't that a coincidence that I was just talking about the picturesque, right? The landscape. That's the feeling that I go for, when I'm out on that road just to be, oh, wow, look at that. Or wow, this is so amazing, right? Wonder is the majesty of what's being presented, right? It's absolutely amazing. My September trips, I'm all about the wonder because I'm like a vacuum cleaner. I know I got that little short week or 2 weeks to get this amazing experience in, and I take it all in, but it never fails to amaze me that each time I take that trip, it's even more spectacular than the last, right? More beautiful. Like this year was just the most beautiful September of every year that I've ever gone. The colors were amazing. The smells were amazing. There weren't as many mushrooms this year. Like I came across lots of mushrooms, but I'm specifically looking for mushrooms, and usually I'm watching the ground so I don't squash them, right? So when I'm actually able just to walk in the forest and not pay attention to the ground, because right, there is no coverage of mushrooms on the ground, it's something to take note of. But some of the mushrooms I found this year, they were just absolutely just huge. It's usually those chicken in a coop, what do you call it, uh hen in a coop. Oh, I can't remember. The ones that grow on the trees, right? That kill the big oak trees. They look absolutely beautiful. I remember I actually chopped one off and I was going to donate it to a health food restaurant because supposedly they're absolutely delicious when they're cooked. And I made a few phone calls, but I couldn't find anybody who wanted this great big chicken in a chicken in a nest. I wish I could remember. I can't remember. Am I on the hunt for what? Melvin, so what is Cindy's good cheer this Friday night? Are you on the hunt, Cindy? No, I'm not on the hunt. I'm not much of a chaser downer. Um, uh, yeah, right. I'm not that and ambitious. Certainly not. Yeah, at least not tonight, right? By this time, I'm so glad that I've changed the timings of my live shows, my podcasts to earlier in the evening because it's been serving me well. I've been going to bed earlier because I'm not pushing the start of my live show to like 1 minute before it's the next day. That's the procrastinator that I am, that I actually have, an extra hour after my live show, and by the time that hour is over, I'm already yawning and getting pajamas on and getting ready for bed, and I'm having good sleep reads. I'm sleeping actually more now, right? Because I'm getting up at the same time, but I'm going to bed an hour or two earlier. So that feels really good. Like I said, my sister has insomnia. She gets 2-3 hours maximum of sleep every single night. She's done that her entire life. I've given her all my tips and stuff. She just ignores them, right? Doesn't stop me from trying because I know they work for me, right? I'm sure they would help her out a little bit at the very, very least. And, if it's too cold for her, just get an extra blanket and just make yourself even more cozier and feeling safer in that, right? So, but I have always been a good sleeper, right? That's sleeping is a safe zone. I'm not much of a dreamer. I started dreaming there a few months back, and I was super excited about it. But I haven't had any dreams since. But I had some gooders. I was pretty excited about being able to catch little tidbits of something that I had dreamed about because I hadn't done that in years and years and years, right? I was actually even thinking about it, the deja vus. I haven't even had a deja vu since probably my early 20s for a very long time. And I used to have them all the time. Silly things, right? I was thinking, you know, because you think you would remember what they are, but they were such insignificant moments, standing at a magazine rack or choosing a chocolate bar, right? It was silly things like that. Okay, you guys, that was our card. Did we cover it? Wonder. A little bit of I wonder, right? But no, but that's what it is, the wonder where you're just like, wow, it just doesn't get any better than this, right? Wow, this is so peaceful in the moment. Right? I didn't even think this was possible. I was having such a crappy day, but this moment, just sitting in my chair, everything is okay. I just did not expect that this was possible on a crappy day like this, right? And you give yourself those moments, right? You give yourself the wonder, right? I do that for myself constantly all the time. My big picture window, and I'm watching the bird flocks and the crows and the seagulls and the swallows and hundreds, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, and it's just like a ballet dance outside my window, and I just like, wow, right? On a crappy day like today, I got gifted something like that. Amazing. But it could be absolutely anything, right? Could be absolutely anything. Okay, you guys, I'm calling a night. I am going to finish my coffee, take in a little bit of Itty Bitty, which is a guy who renovated an old houseboat, and he's taking it on different little trips all over the country. And so we'll watch one of his videos tonight and see where he takes his little houseboat this time. Everybody, have a great night. And we'll see. Oh, it's Friday. We won't see you till Monday. If you want to pop in Sunday night, come hang out with us on Sunday night, 7:30 Central. Right? My crew chats more than I do. We'd be happy to have you. Everybody, have a great night. Thank you, Malvin, Eugene, Kathy. Thank you guys so much for coming in and keeping me company. Everybody,